I'm Batman. No, dude, I'm Batman.
These videos are not for children. If you are a children, then piss off.
Hey there, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso. And right now, I can't help but feel like I'm in the middle of a Billy Mays infomercial, because I previously made a video where I talked about some of the hidden attempts at sequelizing the Tim Burton Batman films. And yet here I am making this video, which is essentially the equivalent of just going, "But wait, there's more!" Now in the video that I'm talking about, I did use some of the more obvious examples, such as Joel Schumacher's intended canon follow-ups of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, as well as the failed Catwoman movie, but the less said about that, the better. The happier we will all be as a society. I even spoke about the suggested canon of shows such as Batman the Animated Series and Birds of Prey. But what I didn't realize is that, despite talking about all of that, I still actually managed to miss a couple things. And I'll just go on record saying this now, while I intend on covering just about everything I can here, it probably still isn't everything. Because the Tim Burton Batman films are so iconic to the character that they are still to this day, at the very least, used as inspiration for new Batman flicks. So I can't imagine that I'm going to get this all in just 2 videos. I'm going to try to, but I'm probably going to miss a couple things out. Especially considering the fact that I'm not talking about the many comic book adaptations that without a shadow of a doubt had Burton's influence in them. I'm looking at you, Catwoman. It's a real nice design you got there. I wonder where I've seen it before. With that being said, let's put our bat cowls on, shine our bat signals in the air, and let's just get right on into it. Now, this first one is a little bit less attempting to follow up the Tim Burton Batman films, and more so just referencing them. You see, in 1989's Batman, a pre-Two-Faced Harvey Dent is played by Lando Calrissian himself, Billy D. Williams. The character originally was intended to return, ironically enough, in the follow-up Batman Returns. And the movie was actually going to depict his transformation into the Two-Face character. Apparently the role that went to Christopher Walken, the Max Schreck character, was a complete rewrite. And his death scene at the end of it, that was actually supposed to be where Harvey would become Two-Face. It was decided instead to create Christopher Walken, and that's how we got here. Depriving audiences everywhere of seeing Billy D's take on this character. Unfortunately, they would never see Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. Or at least not until the Lego movie came out in 2017, where not only did they bring Billy D. Williams in to voice the character, but they also pretty much made him resemble Han Solo's frenemy. It was definitely a nice little reference and a tip of the hat to the performance that never was. But if I had one complaint, and as you can guess, me being a YouTuber here, you know that I do, my complaint would be that Williams just isn't given a whole lot to do in the movie, and he only voices a few lines here and there. Regardless, it was a nice touch, I personally appreciated it, and it was good to finally see. Speaking of Batman Returns, on that same level, this is another not so much follow-up, but reference. In the second Batman flick, the Penguin's family is shown during the opening credits. Now, Penguin's father was originally scheduled to be played by Burgess Meredith, the man who played the Penguin back in the day in the 1960s show, and also the 1960s movie. Again, it would have been a nice nod to the past, but unfortunately Meredith's health was declining, which would force him to sit this one out. And in his place, they cast Paul Reubens of Pee Wee Herman fame. Reubens didn't have a speaking role in this, he just appeared for 2 scenes being disgusted by his penguin-human hybrid son, and eventually cast his carriage into a lake, which I think most of us would do. It just seems like the norm. But surprisingly, he'd actually make his return to a Batman-related project in the future, once again playing the Penguin's father, this time in the show Gotham. Now within the show, unlike the movie, Reubens was granted speaking permission, so that was nice, and he actually performed more as this character. Interestingly enough, both performances, despite being Penguin's father, are entirely different characters, with his character in Batman Returns being named Tucker Cobblepot, and his Gotham counterpart, Elijah Vandal. And outside of the name change, the characters still couldn't be any more different. While Tucker was cold and careless in his brief appearance in Batman Returns, his Gotham counterpart was beyond considerate and compassionate for his son. There's an actual dynamic there, not just disdain. Additionally, in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, early on in the Season 3 episode Don't Tug on Superman's Cape, it's revealed that the characters Tim and Amber Lake have stolen the Batmobile. Which, I mean, is just ridiculous. Because you can't steal stuff from Batman because he's Batman. And what Batmobile is it that makes an appearance in the show? The 1989 Batmobile from the 1989 Batman movie, if that wasn't clear before. Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to get the Watchtower database boys here to try to figure out if it will canon. There are also comic book adaptations of every Burton and Schumacher film. Comics that I am not ashamed to say that I personally own. These adaptations usually include scenes that didn't make the cut in the movies, including, but not limited to, Two-Face and Riddler essentially getting high on their own supply. Oh, and the Riddler drugging a chick. No, not kidding. That happened. There was also a bunch of video game tie-ins for each and every installment in the franchise as well. Almost all of them were awful, with some worse than others. And spoiler alert, Batman and Robin really has to stand on the tip top of that list. Though to be fair, maybe they were just trying to make it as close to the source material as possible, you know? God-awful movie, god-awful video game. Makes sense to me. Again, like the comics, I don't want to get into too much detail here because, well...
That comes later!
Another interesting inclusion was the collaboration the Batman franchise had with WCW of all things. The Bat Bomb that is known as Batman and Robin starred WCW wrestler Jeep Swenson in it, playing the Brute Bane. So it only made sense to have the group Jeep Swenson was in appear in Gotham City themselves, right? No? The Dungeon of Doom literally cut a promo in Gotham City. You can't make this shit up. Probably because you're far too creative. We also, of course, get a small glimpse into the Burtonverse once again during the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, where we're shown the begrudgingly beloved Alexander Knox.
I hope you're watching, big guy.
And now, for the real reason I made this video. The old school OnStar commercials. How did I forget about these when putting together the last one? I did it a complete disservice, and I'm handing in the batarangs and the bat ears now, guys. My career as a Batman fan is clearly over. Even when I'm talking to you about them, I'm showing you these clips, without me even saying anything, you have to realize that they definitely ripped a couple of pages out of Tim Burton's Batman comic book. Not that Tim Burton actually made a Batman comic book, it was a figure of speech. I'm just trying to be clever. Which is twice as hard for me because I'm stupid. I think anyone with eyes who have seen the Tim Burton Batman films could probably tell that Gotham looks quite similar to how it does in those movies. But that's not even the half of it. You see, these commercials were composed of reused old Batman movie assets. The Batman suit that actor's wearing in these ads is a combination of Val Kilmer's suit from Batman Forever and George Clooney's suit from Batman and Robin. Like I said, you could probably just use your eyes and tell that this is at the very least taking inspiration from those movies. Not to mention that the Batmobile used for this is the same Batmobile from Batman Returns. How could anyone watch these commercials and not think of the Burton Batman movies? What I loved about these commercials is that there was always a small story. And there were so many of them that it felt like an ongoing serial dipped in product placement, that little, extra flavor. A bunch of villains from Batman's Rogues Gallery, such as the Riddler, Joker, and Penguin show up, but to be fair, they look significantly different from their original on-screen adaptations. Actor Curtis Armstrong, or as a lot of you probably know him, Booger, or Snot, played the Joker in these ads. He'd also later go on to play Adam West's butler in the Return to the Batcave movie, in which it was also shown that he was not Adam West's butler, but in fact, the Riddler in disguise. The commercials even had Michael Gow return to his role as Alfred Pennyworth. Not that this should shock anyone, because if he didn't turn down Batman and Robin, he's not going to turn down anything. To say that this was inspired by the original Batman franchise is pretty much an understatement. There were even comic books that followed the commercials. Now, this product placement may sound stupid, and it is, but it is stupid enough to work, because OnStar seen a major increase in sales because people watched and loved these OnStar Batman ads. Then of course we have the latest example of branching out the Burton movies. with Michael Keaton confirmed to be reprising his role as Batman and Bruce Wayne in the upcoming Flash movie, which I am more than just a little hyped about. I personally can't wait to get the chance to talk about this on the channel after it's become a reality. Until now, it's just a dream in motion. But until that movie comes out, I'm your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso, and I thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.